I just
Oh
saw
my gosh, you
Spider-Man
finally
Into the
did it.
Spider-Verse.
Yes, yes, yes. Tell me how much you loved it.
I loved it with everything in my heart and soul. It was a comic book movie, Brian. Like from
Right.
looking like a comic book to being a comic book with comic book characters and everything. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was an amazing Spider-Man. Okay, there's
Literally.
so much. I can't believe, not since the Avengers or the best of the MCU have I seen something so fun and funny with so much heart come through. It is far and away the best Spider-Man moving picture show in any format anywhere. Right, we can agree with that much.
Oh, from taking the previous Spider-Man and going, hey, we all saw him, and we liked parts of him, and we made fun of other parts of him, and we're all in this together, and we know what those parts are. Let's just set that, that's our origin story, really, right? Okay, now let's go from there.
Well, and my 14-year-old daughter, Penny, phrased it perfectly because she said, I like the nods towards breaking the fourth wall because it doesn't shatter it. It's not like Deadpool where it's over the top, but it's like, in order for things to land, it's like, oh, my God, no, that's definitely an acknowledgement that they're in a movie and that they understand how crazy all of this is.
Well, yeah, and it's not like Deadpool. And that's not a slam on Deadpool. It's like, if it were being like Deadpool, then you'd be like, oh, this is like Deadpool, right? And a couple of times it veered close, but I think Penny had a great way of putting it. But they never smashed that fourth wall.
Well, and also, you have to lean over to pick those references up. Like, it doesn't wait for you. It doesn't ham it up. So speaking of which, probably the biggest moment of that is that moment when Spider-Ham says, that's all, folks, and then somebody off camera says, can he say that legally? I thought that legally? Was amazing.
Yeah. And I was like, and the only way he can say it is that some lawyer decided, yes, he can say that.
Right. What did you think of that post-credit scene?
I didn't see it.
Tom, you didn't watch the post-credit scene?
No.
Oh my God, Tom! What you're feeling is the thunderclap of a global facepalm that's happening right now from everybody who's listening to this. I'll just spoil it for you.
Yeah, please.
So after the entire movie, it says 2099 Nueva New York, and badass looking Spider-Man from the future. It's the 2099 Spider-Man.
Okay.
He's talking to a holographic so-and-so assistant. And then and they're doing a bunch of technobabble, getting ready to do some stuff. He looks like he's in Tron world, and it's like, okay, the prototype works. You're able to go between worlds. They're like, where are you gonna go? And then this big intense moment. He's like, to where it all began. And he says Earth 67, and he presses a button on his goober, and then suddenly and then format changes. It is 1967 Spider-Man,
nice.
And they reenact the meme of Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man. Only it's 2099 Spider-Man pointing at 1967 Spider-Man, and the two of them just shouting nonsense like, "Hey, why are you pointing at me? No, you're pointing at me!" And then cut over to J. Jonah Jameson, shoot them both, and then it was amazing. Oh my God!
I can't believe we didn't.
I'm so sad that you missed it.
I knew better. But we all make mistakes, and that's mine for 2018 right there for sure.
Oh my goodness, dude. So this is Lord and Miller at their best. Shameless self-aggrandizement here. One of my favorite accomplishments was I said something nice about the Spider-Man movie, and Phil Lord liked my tweet, and I'm like, yay! I felt very, very cool.
And what's interesting is Phil Lord didn't direct, Lord or Miller didn't direct. Miller just produced, I think. I know Lord had a writing,
right.
like Lord wrote the script, and so it definitely had that sensibility in the script, but they didn't direct because it's animation. It's and again, Lego is also animation. It's not like they haven't done it before, right? But yeah. Because I was surprised by that at the credits when I was like, yeah, because the whole way through I'm like, yeah, oh wow, Lord and Miller have really gotten good, and in a way it's like, well, yes, and so have these three directors.
Man, here's my favorite part about it is it has me wildly excited about a Miles Morales movie. It has me wildly excited about a Spider-Gwen movie. It has me wildly excited about, God help me, a Spider-Ham or a Spider-Noir movie. You know, they really pulled some real magic, and it just it kills me that for whatever reason, like as Justin Robert Young pointed out, their superhero movies can be very big, animation movies can be very big. For some reason, animated superhero movies don't seem to ever be big at the box office, and it just breaks my heart that truism is going to plague this beautiful, beautiful gem of a movie.
I will admit something that I think feeds into that problem is, as excited as all of my friends were to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse before it came out, I wasn't feeling it. And it wasn't, I don't want to say I wasn't feeling it, because that can mean like I was, anti. I was not. I was seeing it and I'm like, yeah, but it's animation. Like, I'm sure it's good. I had that bias. Right. And as I'm feeling it, I know I'm like, this is a bias against animation, Tom, that you're feeling right now. But it was true. It was just me going, I'm less excited because this isn't live action. And man, right. Couldn't have been more wrong in that gut feeling, because one of the things that I think they did so brilliantly is they did a movie except where animation would let them do something a movie wouldn't do. So you forget you're watching animation until the collider scene is like, okay, this is ridiculous. You could never do this in an actual movie, but I don't care because it's animation and it looks amazing.
Did you find yourself, when we first saw the trailer, we were all taken by some of the creative artistic choices that they did with instead of soft focus in the background, you see the splitting is reminiscent of poorly aligned screens and comic book printing and so on. At some point, I just failed to be able to see all of that, and instead I just bought into it. Specifically, they did such a great job of lulling you into believing the world, and then they were able to break that. For example, when he gets the spider bite, and then all of a sudden it cranks up the comic bookness, which really conveyed in a very visceral level, this heightened sense of awareness and the strangeness he was going through.
When they used it, they used it really well. They didn't like take you out. They're like enhanced.
Right. This is another thing. I assume that this is just a strength of a Sony thing, because I know Sony is this, pan-galactic mega corporation that has pull. That graffiti sequence where they were able to do like 20 years of hip hop in this one megapix was a blast. And I have to assume that's them flexing some of their presence in the music industry.
Maybe, although from what I know of Sony, the different arms of Sony don't play nice to each other. Maybe that's changed, but back in the day, the music part did not like the electronics part, and they would even fight with each other.
The canonical story, of course, is like Sony had an MP3 player while the other part of Sony was suing MP3 players. Yeah,
exactly. So I don't know. Maybe I'm certainly, being Sony must give them some leverage, but whether they could get cooperation even internally to use that leverage or not, I don't know. The other thing that hit me was Wilson Fisk. I'm like, okay, so I guess Netflix didn't own Wilson Fisk, just Daredevil.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even really put that part together. I mean, that has to be the case, right?
Either that or Sony got Netflix to give them a waiver, which is, I guess, not impossible since it's not Disney, but Marvel's involved, so I don't know.
Well, and behind the scenes, though, there's got to be an incredible amount of very finely cut differences. Like, remember, like they were able to have in the Avengers franchise, they were able to have Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch, but they just didn't call them mutants, right? So you could have the characters, but they couldn't have the backstory. And so I'm certain something like that, like maybe maybe they did or didn't call him Kingpin or something.
They did. They called him Kingpin. In fact, Eileen didn't realize who it was at first because they called him Kingpin, and they call him Kingpin so rarely in Daredevil that it didn't click with her. And then they said Mr. Fisk, and she's like, "What?" Because she loves Vincent D'Onofrio's Fisk, and so that kind of threw her for a second. She's like, "Oh, okay, that's who that is." And Vanessa, when they mentioned Vanessa, because she knows Vanessa from Daredevil, that also was a thing that was like, "Wait, Vanessa? So that's him? That's the yeah."
Oh, that's fun. So you got to watch the movie with somebody who's only peripherally aware of a bunch of the Spider-Man verse.
Sure.
What did Eileen think of everything?
She loved it. She thought it was great. And honestly, I'm not as steeped in Spider-Man as most of my friends. I've only read the Silver Age stuff. I've never read any of the other stuff. So, I know that we both liked this a lot. And if you are somebody who's really followed Spider-Man, I can't imagine you wouldn't just be screaming with joy coming out of it.
Just ecstatic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dude, I'm so glad you saw it. Now, I guess now that you're on the other side of it, does it sound less crazy that I watched it and then immediately bought a ticket and watched it again?
No, it does not sound crazy at all. It's worth it, and thankfully it's less than 2 hours, right? So for some superhero movies that's short, and so you pack a lot of fun in that time, and I totally seeing it again, absolutely, dude.
All right, so we give it our lowest rating ever, 1,000 thumbs up.
It's amazing. It's amazing on my personal scale, which is
that's right.
one below the top.
A very rare thing for you to give. Yeah,
and I know it's also Amazing Spider-Man, but like it legit came out with me. You saying that was amazing.
Right.
I've only given that to Roma and maybe one other film.
Yeah, I gotta see if I can talk the lady into watching Roma, because it sounds like that's one that we'll want to talk about. Yeah, and it's intense, so gotta be right ready for it. But yeah, man, cool. Well, I'm sorry it took so long for me to see it. For many reasons, are forgiven,
not just to you.
I am a kind and gracious co-host.
Thank you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.